I saw this originally posted from Endymion today and thought it was fascinating. He quote tweets PC Gamer and says, "Be BioWare. Ruin core franchises for activist points. Weakened state leads to hostile takeover. We are the victims. Zero accountability for their actions. It's baffling how they can't see this." And this is quote tweeting an absolutely insane article from PC Gamer. Former BioWare lead writer reads the runes on EA Saudi deal and speculates that guns and football are in. Gay stuff is out. And the venerable RPG studio may be for the chop. Now, I will tell you guys, this has nothing to do with any of this. It has to do with BioWare is a complete shit show. And based off of the Mass Effect Andromeda, Dragon Age, the Veilguard, and I mean, too many games to count off the top of my head from BioWare in recent years. I can't remember the name of the one where you're jumping around. It was supposed to be and you fly around everywhere. Anthem. Thank you, Iron Reaver. Anthem. I said that game cost them how many hundreds of millions of dollars? It was a massive, massive flop. So yeah, when private equity and going to take a company private comes in to the picture, they're probably gonna look at a woke studio that's losing hundreds of millions of dollars and be like, yeah, we're gonna cut that. It's not because you're gay, it's because you're pushing gay shit that no one's buying. Former BioWare lead writer reads the runes on EA Saudi deal. Who knows? Maybe the Crown Prince is a big Femshep fan. The rumors have been swirling for a while because today brought a major industry announcement. EA has struck a $55 billion deal to go private in Saudi-backed buyout. It's the biggest leverage buyout in history, meaning that it's the new EA is instantly saddled with $20 billion of debt and will face intense pressure to crank those profits. Yes and no. In fact, you could look at this where they already know going into this that there's going to be massive cuts internally at EA. Not so different than the Embracer Group, ironically, when that $1 billion deal fell apart with Saudi Arabia, that there were massive cuts and still going on. The ripples are still being felt with Embracer Group years later. I have a feeling that that's going to happen with EA. And it's also the latest step in the Saudi Arabian investment fund's mission to sports wash the brutal regime by using its influence and ubiquity across entertainment industries to distract from some of the world's most appalling human rights abuses. Oh my God. The activists that are writing these articles about video games, well, they love to get their jabs in at anyone that they disagree with ideologically. As the crack team at PCG Towers discussed the deal, one line struck, I wouldn't want to be sitting in a BioWare chair right now. The vibes around one of the all-time great RPG studios have not been good in recent years, and the fairly decent Dragon Age the Veilguard didn't persuade anyone that the studio is capable. I love, by the way, the cope here. The fairly decent. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe PC Gamer, this outlet, gave it a very good score. They gave it a 79. That's pretty decent. That's almost an 80. 8 out of 10. I'm going to round up. That's better than fairly decent. I'd say a 6 is a fairly decent. An 8, that's a very, very good game. An 8. A 9 would be a great game. A 10 would be a perfect game. Fairly decent. This is cope. They're starting to make it be like, because everyone realized it wasn't good, they're trying to take their score down now after the fact and be like, oh, it was fairly decent. Early this year, the studio was apparently cut to the bone in a round of layoffs, though a new Mass Effect game remains in development for now. Guys, I would not be surprised if the latest Mass Effect game is canceled out of this deal. In fact, I kind of expect that to happen. Everyone who's ever loved a BioWare game, which is surely an awful lot of us, is probably feeling quite gloomy about the studio's prospects. Bro, I was feeling that before we got to this point, based off of their Andromeda Anthem and Veilguard. Yeah, I don't think we need to wait for the Saudi Arabian to take over and cancel a game for us to feel gloomy about it. And that extends to former BioWare leads who are watching this acquisition and thinking pretty much what we're all thinking. It might not happen tomorrow, but this could be the death knell for the studio, which again, I agree. This might be. Patrick Weeks, who goes by Trick Weeks, was a writer at BioWare from 2005 to 2025 before getting, I believe, fired or let go alongside the entire team or most of the entire team of Dragon Age Veilguard after the massive flop that it was. Working across various Mass Effect and Dragon Age titles, was a lead writer for Dragon Age Veilguard. They recently took the blue sky, linking coverage of the EA Saudi deal alongside an imaginary conversation that goes like this. Buyers, so your games, guns and football? Yes. EA, mostly guns and football. Yep. Buyers, no gay stuff, no politics. We're not going to like. Question mark. EA, haha, definitely not. Hey, could you give me 1 sec? I just need to shut down a studio real quick. This is bad. It's getting rid of the gay stuff from our studios that we love, the games that we love. Terrible. Weeks was one of those laid off. That's putting it kind, laid off at the start of the year, and so can afford to be frank. While anyone still at BioWare will no doubt be deleting all social media apps, lest temptation win out. Yeah, because the lefty lunatics cannot, as we found out with the Charlie Kirk situation, cannot resist to say retarded shit online. As for the fans, a quick look at the Mass Effect subreddit shows the top thread on the acquisition is called simply, "It's over, Commander," with seemingly every fan of the series bracing for bad news. The only slight notes of positivity are those who think EA might sell BioWare. But honestly, who's lining up to buy a AAA studio that hasn't had a major hit since arguably Mass Effect 3? Which is true, by the way, but I wouldn't put it past not buying the entire studio, but maybe buying the IP and making a deal to transfer over the people working on the game to work at their studio and creating a new studio with the IP. That could theoretically, depending on the cost, of course. EA Saudi deal was only announced today, and we're going to be watching the fallout from this for years to come, which I agree. It doesn't bode well for fans of any EA series, really. According to who? But for BioWare especially, this could be existential. I feel like this is glorious. We're finally returning to an age of, oh shit, we need to make games that gamers actually want. We need to make sure that we're not pushing gay shit and propaganda. Here's, by the way, in case you're wondering, this is Matt Bomb Plus, who has 977 subscribers from 7 months ago with 435 views. An interview about trans characters in games with Trick Weeks and Karen Weeks, which I believe this is Trick here, and I believe this is Karen here, and I believe they are married, but really into trans shit based off of the stories they write, which is really weird. All right, I'm just gonna call it like I see it. That's fucking weird. I don't know what to tell you about your relationship, but get fucking help, bro.
The panel.
Can you describe the PAX panel where the Dragon Age crew discussed trans representation with players? And I apologize for the audio being really low, but small channel, guys. It's the best I can do here.
Because we make a lot of assumptions when making games. We have to make our best guesses as to what players are going to want, what they're going to need.
Why would players want a trans character in their game? Your best guess is players want a trans character in the game? Bro, this is why you're unemployed right now.
What story they want to tell and how we can help with that. And the panels are a good chance for us to just get feedback and hear people say,
yes, Paper Moose, this is a 90-minute interview, which I don't know who the hell would sit through this and watch this entire thing. You could not pay me enough to sit through this shit. This is painful enough just listening to this part.
Here's something that we don't think you've considered, and we would really like to see that in the game. And it's important for us to hear that.
He's speaking very flamboyantly, which, I mean, whatever. It's just really fucking weird to be pushing trans characters in a game. It's really weird. And then trying to explain why you're doing it to gamers that don't want that in their game.
So for us, we were hoping to get, a sense of things we were missing, of blind spots that we had, as a group of well-intentioned, but ultimately at the time, very homogenous game developers. So that's what we were looking for.
Yeah, and just a chance to open up that.
I love how he's like, oh yeah, we're totally not gay or trans, but what if?
Forum for discussion, and a little bit of it was explaining sort of some of the hurdles, some of the constraints that we're working at as developers. We have a certain budget, we have certain tools, we can't, as much as we would love to have every single possible representation, permutation of what every person could look like in every kind of background, we kind of have to pick and choose and figure out. So we're looking at
why would you love that in your game? Who's asking for that? Where is that ask coming from? They can never answer that. It's just like, oh, we just want the most diversity we could possibly fit in our game. Why? Who cares?
Since our efforts have to be targeted, how can we do that better? Where have we not looked that we could be doing better, and just getting feedback from people and hoping we can have a good talk about that.
At least on my end.
Okay, that's all I can sit through with this, because that is definitely brutal. My greater point with all of it is Trick Weeks does not work at BioWare anymore. And his biggest concern is that BioWare is going to fall apart because the Saudis don't want gay stuff. And they're worried that because they focused on gay stuff at BioWare, that the Saudis are going to come in and chop that studio off right off the bat. And you know what? They might. And you know what? That might be the reason why they do it. Ask me if I'm going to shed any tears. If the Saudis are investing $55 billion into a studio and they are like, yeah, that's not something we want to be supporting. We don't want that here. Why should they have to support it? Like, it's almost like this is reality hitting them. Finally, it took this to happen, but here it is. My heart does go out for the people that do love Mass Effect. And I see the writing on the wall already right now that when I do make that video, it's going to happen. I'm going to cover it. Mass Effect will be canceled. I already know, like, it's going to happen. If it does come out from BioWare with no hiccups or anything, I will be the most shocked person on the planet, because everything I knew about BioWare going into Mass Effect was this game may not come out. And then this happened. I'm like, this game definitely not coming out. Mass Effect is done. Do not be expecting Mass Effect 4. Again, I'll eat my words, but if I'm right, you got to give me credit, guys. I feel like it's done here. We'll see. But yeah, I will leave that one there.